सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। गुरुसूत्रम अखंडमंडलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुर्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। स्थावरं जङ्गमं व्याप्तं यत्किञ्चित् सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। चिन्मयं व्यापि यत्सर्वं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविडं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव त्वमेव सर्वं गुरुदेव देव। Let's do Gita Dhyanam, first and last sloka. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Graditam Purana Munina Majje Mahabharatam Advaita Mrutavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadasadhyayinim Ambatva Manusandadhami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshinim Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedais Sangapadakrammo Panishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Jhanavastita Tadgadena Manasa Pasyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam Navidussura Asuragunaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Ahantva Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishyami Ma Sucha. Hari Om. We just started Karma Yoga last time. After Krishna discussing the highest philosophy, the Advaita Vedanta, he also recognized that it is difficult to see that clearly, because some people also complained it was too abstract. And I'm sure Arjuna also must have felt like that. So, in order to appreciate that, the mind has to be prepared. It's not the problem of philosophy, it's not the problem of Vedanta, and it's not even problem of the teacher. It's a problem of lack of preparation of the mind to appreciate that knowledge. So what should I do? So, prepare the mind. How to prepare the mind? The best and simplest way is karma yoga. That's what Krishna talks about. So, Swalpam apyasya dharmasya, even if you follow little bit of it, it will take the mind to a greater extent to the highest levels, and you start appreciating it. So, in that, he discusses the law of action. So that's what we did. Let's chant Sloka 47, second chapter. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhuh Mati sangostva karmani. Together. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhuh mati sangostva karmani. So here, this is the law. Whether you believe or not believe, it doesn't matter. But this is the law of action and results. And the fundamental law itself, Krishna reveals, he says, Karmani eva adhikarasti. As a human being, we have a choice in the action. So adhikara means normally is right, but it's not the right here. You have a choice in performing. You have a choice to attend or not to attend class. That's your choice. So anything that you have is where Purushatantram, that means man has to decide. In fact, a human being has no choice than to exercise choice. At every moment I am at crossroads and I had to do or not to do or do it another way. So kartum shakyum, akartum shakyum, anyadha kartum shakyum. These are the choices, fundamental choices for everybody. People complain that I don't have a choice because they think that I had to accomplish something, a goal, then I already decided this is my choice, therefore I don't have any other choice. So when people complain that I don't have a choice, it's only because they already selected a choice. And here, Krishna says, you have a choice. So last time I gave an example, if I have a stone, I have a choice what to do with it. I can throw this side, I can throw that side, I can throw up, I can throw anywhere. But once I perform the action, ma phaleshu kadachana, you have no choice in dictating the results of the action. Why? Because the results are given by the laws of nature, and you are not the author of the laws of nature. You are not Sarvashaktiman, or you are not really omniscient to control the laws so that it can do whatever you want. All you can do is perform the action, understanding the laws of nature, use and utilize the laws of nature for your benefit, and perform the action in tune with the laws. So I had to be understanding the laws. So if I want a promotion, I should understand what are the factors that go into in order to get promotion. So in every action, I have a choice in performing, and I had to perform my best once I know that is the direction that I want to go. So here, karmani eva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. You have no choice in performing the act, in dictating the results, because the results are given by the laws and you are not the author. And who is the author? We call it Lord Ishvara is the creator, and he also created all the laws that are governing within the creation. So he is Sarvajnaha. Therefore, he himself is the author. So he is the one who gives the results of the action. So we call him Karma Paladata. Okay. Now the question that we pointed out is because you don't have a choice, and also because action can only be done in the present. Because I cannot act in the past, I cannot act in the future. So past is dead and gone. I can sit down in the present and regret about my past actions, right? Or I can think of planning about my future actions sitting in the present. So every action, thinking, planning, executing, all can only be done in the present. Present alone is given to me in a silver plate. And results follow the action. Results are not before the action. If you're already before, then I don't have to act. So therefore, results follow the action. Therefore, the results are future to the action, and I have no control on the future. All I can do is control the present. Therefore, karmani eva adhikaraste. You have only a choice in performing the action. Results will depend upon not only on your action, but the action that responds. In other words, when I perform an action to the entire universe will respond back depending upon the universe situation, which I have no control. Even though I work for my promotion, the promotion has to come by the boss has to dictate, and he has different criteria for which, and I have no control on it. Normally. So in every action, something else is beyond. The results are given by something, factors that I have no control. That's what has to be understood. The factors that are beyond my control, that's called daivam. Okay? So the results are coming from him. He is not only in the temple, he is everything, because he himself became many. So all the laws are nothing but his expressions only. So it is coming from him only. Don't think that boss is giving. It is coming from the totality. So in that, if I understand it correctly, I will have a different attitude. That we'll discuss when we talk about karma yoga. But here, karma is performing action, and I only can perform in the present. And also mention the present is funny thing, right? Present is where past is meeting future. That's where the present is. So how big should be the past, the present? You can keep on dividing it into a second or day, hour, second, and microsecond, picosecond. Keep on dividing, it becomes smaller, 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 it completely disappears. Now it's a very funny thing. I can only act in the present. I can only enjoy in the present. I can only live in the present. There's no present. If you really think about it. Then what is there? The fellow who is dividing. Remember? I'm taking division smaller and smaller. He has to be present to divide. So my presence alone is there in the present, in principle, if I understand it. But that becomes Advaitic understanding now. But before that, at least when I'm performing, as long as I think I had to do, then I have only choice in the results. So that preparation of the mind, if you understand this law, this is an absolute law of action and result, then I apply this law properly for my benefit to make use of the laws that are available so that I can get what I want. This is the first statement. Now, the karmas themselves are divided into many types. So the actions that we do is classified as Nitya Naimittika karmas. Number one, Nitya Naimittika karmas. Nitya means daily. Naimittika means occasionally. And these are called Niyata karmas. Niyata karma means obligatory duties. Obligatory duties, daily obligatory duties, occasionally obligatory duties. Daily obligatory means snanameva. Example is snanama, taking like a bath. So what do I get by taking a bath? Nothing you will get. You may lose something, but nothing you will get. So in these Nitya karmas, obligatory duties, you don't gain anything new, you get rid of something. In these obligations, I am not doing, in fact, for the benefit, its benefit of public, for everybody. So you are taking bath for the public's sake? Yes. Because everybody will be afraid of you if you don't take bath regularly. At least when you take bath, they will welcome you to the club. So therefore, it is important that you should be pure physically also. Like that, it's an example. All niyata karmas, which are Veda Vihita karmas, Veda Vihita means what obligation established by the Vedas themselves, you have to do this daily. Prayer, you have to do everyday prayer. First thing in the morning, you have to do prayer. These are Veda Vihita karmas. Sandhya Vandanam. Sandhya means morning, you have to do prayer. Sandhya is where thing is changing, right? A junction. And Vandanam is recognizing something that is, I am thanking the Lord in some form. Okay, that everyone has to do. That is niyata karma, obligatory duties. We'll see why it is so. But this is one type of karma that's called nitya naimittika karma. Everyone has to do it, without exception. The second type is called kamya karma. Kamya karma is desire-prompted actions, where I had to act in order to fulfill a desire. So if I want to eat something special, then I have to go there, or I have to cook myself, I have to perform an action so that I can enjoy. So that is action propelled by a desire. And why do I get desire? Because in the past, I enjoyed this action. So that's called ragam. Raga means I have a desire coming from due to my past association. So you remember my coffee, first thing in the Madras cup of coffee. Why I get? Because I got used to drinking first a coffee and enjoyed it. That leaves an impression in my mind as a vasana. And that gives you a desire at my intellect level, and agitations at my mind level, and actions where I had to get up and go somewhere or drink coffee or make myself, all those activations. Therefore, actions are propelled by the desires, which themselves are propelled by my samskara, which is vasanas. How do I get the vasanas? By performing these actions only. Because whenever I perform an action with a desire-prompted action, not only I have a tangible result immediately, that I enjoy a cup of coffee, because I am enjoying it, it leaves an impression in my mind to repeat that experience again. So that leaves an impression in my mind to do that. That's called ragam, that's called vasana also. The more I indulge, as he's going to tell in this chapter, the more the vasanas become stronger, and the more desire is, and the more intense my agitations if I doesn't get fulfilled also. So these are kamya karmas. What kind of kamya I have, depending upon what kind of ragas I have. What kind of ragas and what kind of activities I indulge myself in the past. Because that's one impressions. Either past in this life or past in the previous lives. So that becomes a motivating factor. So why, if I don't have desire, what happens? We'll salute you. If you don't have a desire, then we'll salute you because you are a Mahatma. We'll see why it is. In this chapter, we'll tell you. So, not to have desires is a big problem. Not to have desire is in fact difficult. I don't want to have a desires. It's not a suppression of a desire because everybody has desires. So what should I do if I have desires? Because if I indulge myself, it becomes more vasanas. If I don't indulge, I am getting suppressed. So what should I do? So this is what our sadhana is. Whenever I get desire-prompted actions, bring him now. He doesn't have any desires, right? So perform an action for his benefit, whatever your desire. Suppose you have desire to make good rasamalai. I don't know whether you have it or not, but make a lot of it and offer it to him. When you offer it to him, it's called naivedyam, nivedanam. But once you offer, it becomes prasadam. Right? Prasadam means it has to be distributed to everybody. You can eat, also distribute. So what you are doing, I have desired to something, I am offering to the Lord, and it's converting the same kamya karma into a naivedyam, and result is coming from him. It comes as a prasada, and prasada is given, distributed to everybody. So when you talk distributing prasada, people will not ask you, hey, what is this? I don't like this prasada. You won't say that. Once it's a, hey, this is Venkateshwar prasadam, it may be. Vishnu prasadams are always sweet and good. Only if you go to Shiva temple, you'll get vibhuti and all that. This is just for a joke. Because I'm a Vaishnavate. So, if prasadam is once it is coming from the Lord, you don't question anymore, is it good prasadam? Is it sweet? Is it hot? Is it salty? All that is not there. You immediately take with a reverential attitude because it's coming from the Lord. You don't question, how come I'm only getting this much and the other fellow is getting more prasadam? You don't ask all those questions because that's what prasadam means. But that we think only prasadam is a temple. Krishna says, Ma paleshu, all actions, results are given by me. So it comes from me means it is prasadam from the Lord. So every result, if I understand this law, that I only perform an action and the results are coming from him, then I have an attitude that it is prasadam now. Which means I should not be reacting, hey, it is good, it is bad, it is this, it is that. So clear at least what is prasada buddhis. But I wanted to do something, but it's not the result I want. That's our complaint, right? I want work for promotion, other fellow is getting, and he didn't even do properly. He bribed the fellow or something, he got it. That's not fair. What should I do? Is this Lord's action? These are all our complaints, right? So what should I do? Should I also indulge myself in illegal activities in order to get promoted or do something? So that's why the karma yoga becomes only Veda Vihita karma. Veda Vihita means it has to be dharmic action. Because in the Purusharthas, dharma comes, then artha, then kama, then moksha. So the kama and the desire prompted, kama and artha are bounded by one side dharma, other side moksha. That is Sanatana Dharma. That's our Hindu religion. Not do whatever we want. It has to be dharmic action, even though it may be kamya karma, because kama is also included in the Purushartha. There is nothing wrong to desire and act as long as action itself is a dharmic action. Yeah, I have desire to go and slap everybody. No. You may have a desire, but that's not a dharmic action. So, Veda Vihita includes what is dharma. That's why Upanishad, this Gita starts with dharma kshetre, right? What is mama dharma? What is my dharma? So, it has to be, what should I know? What is the right thing to do? So, who says what is the right thing to do? It is the responsibility beginning by mother, father, teacher, scriptures. This is the order. Because the child doesn't know what is right, what is wrong. So, as I grow, I had to learn what is right and what is wrong. It becomes a parental responsibility to teach dharma until the child grows up. Afterwards, it is his responsibility to maintain dharma. So, dharma, kamya karma has to be bounded by dharma. So, this is the second type of karma. But in case if I do something not dharmic, then there is a procedure. But how do you know which is not dharmic? What are the non-dharmic? Called nishiddha karma. those karmas you should not do. Just now I gave you going slapping everybody, hurting anybody. So all value system that you look into our scripture or dharmas are bounded by dharma. So what is my swadharma? A basic principle is I should not do something what I don't want others to do to me. That's a simple dharma. I don't want somebody to come and slap my, right? Therefore I should not go and slap everybody. I don't want anybody to steal my property. Therefore, I should not steal anybody's property. I don't want anyone to lie to me. Everybody expects. Notorious liar also expects that everybody to tell him the truth only. Therefore, I should not lie. So if you expect others to do to you, you should not do. That is the simplest rule. And that what you expect others to do to you, you have to do to others. You want others to be compassionate to you. You want others to forgive your mistakes. You want others to help you when you are in need, when you are hungry. Therefore, this becomes your dharmas. Your simple ethical living is the very basis of our dharma itself. So, this nishiddha karma is that you should not hurt anybody. All those philosophies where you don't expect others to hurt you are fundamentally nishiddha karmas. But in case by mistake, without knowing, if I hurt somebody, what do? Mother said, go and tell sorry, right? If somebody made a mistake, you say sorry. That's a simple. And sorry telling is what is called prayaschitta karma. An action again to repair the previous action if I have done something. So all the prayaschitta karmas are repair actions for things that I should not have done. But I did it because of either lack of knowledge or lack of awareness or by mistake. Or in the moments of the emotional attachments. So we have the nitya naimittika karma, kamya karma, nishiddha karma, prayaschitta karma. These are the 4 types of karmas that are, and in all is karmani eva adhikaraste. You have only choice in performing the action. So this is what Krishna gave as the law. So we started with the highest philosophy, then he gave what is involved in the action. Then if you perform an action in proper attitude, your mind becomes pure. Look at the 48th sloka. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Together. Yogastha kuru karmani sangham tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. So yogastha kuru karmani. So the one who had established in yoga. So yoga is where I am following the karma as a part of yoga. Why? Because this is now a purification process. So just now I said there are karma and there is a yoga. There are 2 words. Karma is action. So action can be good, better or something depending upon the gradations of type of whether it is a nitya naimittika karma or it is a kamya karma or it is a nishiddha karma or prayaschitta karma. So the gradations are in the karma itself, that is in the action, type of action. And yoga is attitude in the action. What should be my attitude whenever I perform an action? Now, we know the laws of, because I can only perform an action. I have a choice. But whatever choice or choiceless choice that I am doing, what should be my attitude? For what? Attitude so that the mind becomes a pure, so that the Vedantic knowledge will sink in. That's our purpose. So here, yogastha kuru karmani sangham tyaktva dhananjaya. So the people who are established in the karma yoga, yogastha, they perform the action in attitude in such a way that they have sangham, they have no attachments to the results of the action. What is sangham? Siddha asiddha samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. So detachment in the results of the action means they have a samadrushti. Samadrushti means a vision where for the results of the action, when it comes, they have an attitude of samatvam. Means siddha, asiddha. Whether I succeed in the action or I don't succeed in the action. Whether the results, whether I get promotion or I don't get promotion. Just for example, I perform an action my best and I don't care what the result is. My choice is only in performance. And I am ready to accept whatever that comes as prasadam. That's called samatvam. Samatvam is equanimity. Equanimity comes whether it's a favorable or unfavorable. Just as when the prasadam that is offered, whether it's a bitter prasadam or sweet prasadam, I have samatvam. Because I accept it with a reverential attitude, it is coming from the Lord. In the same way, yogaha, the one who are established in the karma yoga, the one who wants to do karma yoga, or the one who are doing in the karma yoga, then they have not only performing the karma, they have also bringing a yoga, means attitude in the action, where they accept whatever the result that come as with the samattva buddhi. So you're ready to accept whatever that comes? You have no choice. You already said. Then what should I do? Remember, karmanyeva adhikaraste. You have choice in action. So when the results come, if it is not result or not favorable, then now you are more intelligent enough because the results follow the rules, laws. Now you more intelligent enough to perform the next action better than the previous action. That choice you have. Was karmanyeva adhikaraste. So at every moment, I am performing an action, results are coming, I am performing an action again, results are coming. The life is continuously what is called, Krishna calls a wheel of action and results, set in motion in the beginning of the creation itself. So whole life is nothing but full of actions. No, I don't want to act. No. In the next chapter, he is going to tell you, Nahika chit shanamapi jatu tushasya karma krita. Not even a single moment anybody can remain without performing an action. Even not performing an action is an action that you are doing for which you are responsible for it. So perform better. If not doing the action is the best way, then do. That is the action that you have to do. Sometimes not doing action is the best way. And therefore, with that understanding, if I perform whatever that comes to me as a prasada, and I perform again an action back, then the cycle is set into motion. That we discuss into the second chapter that comes. But this is what we need to understand here. What do I get out of this? What is the nature of that knowledge? Just now we said, give a highest philosophy, which is so abstract. If I repeat, everyone may go to sleep. But that highest philosophy How, once I get it, what should be my attitude? How do I know somebody got it or not? Is there a particular litmus test? This man is a jnani and that man is not a jnani? So Arjuna had a doubt. I'm sure we all have a doubts. So he asked the question. It says 54. Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthitadhi kim prabhasheta kimasita vrajeta kim. Together. Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthitadhi kim prabhasheta kimasita vrajeta kim. So what is the nature of this sthita prajna, one who is firmly abiding in this knowledge? How does he act? How does he communicate? What is his language of speaking? I want to know. Means how does he transact in the world once he has gained that knowledge? So that I can see, by knowing it, I know this man is realized and that man is not realized. We have a litmus test. So that's why we want to go about, hey, that guru is not realized, this guru is realized, all that. We give certifications, right? So on what basis? So Arjuna wants to know also. Krishna gives one of the best, this is called Sthita Prajna Lakshana. Most beautiful text, part of this second chapter. And Krishna says here, 55, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atman yevatmana tushtaha sthita prajnastadochyate. Together. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atman yevatmana tushtaha sthita prajnastadochyate. Who is sthita prajna? Sthita means firmly abiding in the knowledge of whatever the highest truth is, that we discussed before a little bit. So what is that? How do we know what is the nature of that knowledge? And what is the nature of the person who has that knowledge? And he says, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan. So he is that, a sthita prajna is one who has all sarva karman, all desires in his mind are completely washed out. So now, remember we said we have types of karmas. One is the obligatory nitya naimittika karma. And these nitya naimittika karma are not kamya karmas. They are not desire-prompted actions. They are obligatory actions where I perform for the benefit of everybody. The second level is kamya karmas. They are desire-prompted karmas. Why do I have desire? Because by performing an action, I fulfill something that will please me. Right? Why do I have a cup of coffee if it's a miserable? I'm not going to get up in the morning just to have miserable cup of coffee. I want a cup of coffee that gives me so that I'm happy. Right? So what I'm looking for is happiness in all these kamya karmas. So I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this, because this and this and this is bringing me happiness. So everything that I like, I love, I crave for, I am longing for, is because that particular object or a person or whatever that is bringing happiness to me. That's the only reason. That's why people get married, right? Why? Because that way you're going to be happy. If you're going to be unhappy, I'm not going to tell that. But so that, whatever that you do, this is not my statement. This is Yajnavalkya teaches Maitreyi. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Because of, for Atmanas, for his own sake, because for his own sake, he wants to be happy, everything becomes desirable, including wife, husband, everything. Okay, this is husband teaching wife though. So Yajnavalkya teaches Maitreyi. So all objects, all desires is meant for, so that I'm looking for happiness. But when I realize that I am the Satchidananda Swarupam, that is what the Jnanam is, it's not happiness is anywhere in the objects, anywhere, not even in the coffee. Even though I want coffee in the morning, it's not really there. You remember, more coffee, more happiness? No, 1 cup is enough. 2nd cup, tolerable. 3rd cup, miserable. So it becomes a problem because it's not there. What is there is because I have a contented mind, a mind which is self-satisfied by itself without having to depend on anything other than myself. In those at least moments, I am happy. And the coffee became a vehicle only to bring myself back to myself. Because once a cup of coffee, I am so happy, no more desires. Until, of course, afterwards I want some idli also. That's a separate issue. Another desire comes. So therefore, whenever the desire is fulfilled, I am getting happiness, but that happiness is not in the object that is fulfilling my desire. That happiness is coming from my own self. I am tapping that happiness in those moments. But due to misunderstanding, not knowing this truth, I'll tell you, even after knowing the truth also, I'm still going after the objects. Right? You all now know object, there's no happiness in the objects. But after the class is over, you'll be running to different objects for happiness only. Just now you learned there is no happiness in the objects. Sir, that's only in the class. Good to listen. Why? This understanding has not sinked in. Logically true, factually not clear. That's where the gap is. Why? Because the mind is not pure enough yet. Therefore, Karma Yoga has to come. Follow now the whole process. Therefore, a person who has understood that I am the totality itself, then he doesn't have to depend on something other than himself for him to be happy. Therefore, prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan. There is no more desires in him that I want this for my happiness, I want that for my happiness, I am on this happiness. There is no more longing for, wanting for, and looking for, craving for. All those things are gone completely because Atmani eva Atmana tushtaha. He is happy by himself as he is because he understood I am not this body, this mind and this intellect. I am pure Satchidananda Swarupam. That is the Jnanam. So what is the litmus test? You cannot go and evaluate anybody whether his mind he is having any desires or not. I cannot read your mind. Someone asked Swami Tejamayanji, says, some child asked, say, can you read other people's mind? If you are a Swami, can you read other people's mind? He says, no, I cannot read other people's mind. So you won't know what is in other people's mind. But I can know what is in other people's mind. So how? If I love him enough, he will tell me what's in his mind. So I don't need to read his mind. He will tell me himself. So no one can read anybody else's mind, irrespective of who says what. You can see his expression and then deduct in yourself by inferring. You can infer something. Hey, he's angry. He likes all those things. You can deduce, but that's your deduction. You may be wrong. People act. Remember, My lips, watch my lips. Lips may something, but he may be thinking something else. But a jnani, if you watch him, is called Arjavam. In the 13th chapter, he says, even a sadhaka has to be an Arjavam, means straightforward. What he thinks, what he feels, what he speaks, what he does, all in line. There is no crookedness in the process. That you can watch. You can watch, you don't know what he thinks, what he feels and all that. You can see the action coming from, and whatever he does is for the Loka Kalyanam, for the benefit of everybody only. So based on that you can deduce, but I cannot go and evaluate this Mahatma is realized, that Mahatma has realized or not. This test is only meant for evaluating yourself. Do I depend on something other than myself for my happiness? Then you are not a jnani. Follow now? So this litmus test that he gave here, Krishna's Pajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan atmani eva atmana tushtaha. He doesn't depend on anything other than himself for his happiness. Yet, jnani also has to live. And the body, mind, intellect has trained in particular way. So he has to keep the body alive so that it is beneficial. So when he say, oh, he's also eating this one, he also wants that one, he also is this, all those you look at it as though he has a desire, but that desire is different from your desire. So don't evaluate a Mahatma. Oh, he's also getting up in the morning. So I say, well, Swami, how is he different from me? I also do the same thing what you are doing. I also get up in the morning. You also have a cup of coffee. I also am having a cup of coffee. What's the big difference? And you depend on bhiksha, and people are bringing good bhiksha for you. I have to make myself all those things. In what way you are different? The difference is he doesn't depend on it for his happiness. Whether it comes, he's happy. If it doesn't come, also he's happy. So it is the samskara of the body, mind, intellect that brings according to the karma, prarabdha karma. But by watching that, don't evaluate a Mahatma. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Don't go to any satsangs and all that, say, this man is not realized because I don't understand what he's saying. I don't agree with what he's saying. No. If you understand it, take it. If not, just walk out. There are other people who like that. So this is a basic fundamental understanding of what jnanam is. Now, what are other temptations in terms of what a jnani can evaluate himself is further is provided by Krishna. Dukkheshu anudvigna manaha sukheshu vigata spruhaha vitaraga bhaya krodhaha Sthitadhir muniruchyate. Together. Dukkheshu anudvigna manaha sukheshu vigata spruhaha vitaraga bhaya krodhaha sthitadhir muniruchyate. So from his point, he doesn't have dukkheshu anudvigna manaha. He doesn't get, when there is suffering comes, he's not going to cry just like anybody else. He may cry like anybody else, pretending it, but also he has a control in his mind. Watch Rama's stories, and these are mythological stories. Rama was crying left and right, and when Sita was gone, right, kidnapped. And the story goes, I think Parvati was just, how can he be God? Shiva is praying him, and how can you pray him? He's crying like anybody else. Says his crying is different from your crying or anybody else's crying. Why? So Parvati wanted to test. So she appears as though like a Sita says, in the forest. I don't know if this is a real story or not. It appears as a Sita. And Rama looks at it, says, Amma, why are you here, sitting here? So he recognizes that she is Parvati and not real Sita also, while crying for Sita. So obviously Parvati left back. I don't know, he knows what he is doing. So, and a Mahatma also may be acting like that, but at the same time, he does not really act. We'll see as we go to the chapter how one can be acting at the same time not acting also. That's a part of the jnani. So here, whether it is because prarabdha karma is there, that will be coming, whether it's a jnani or ajnani. Because prarabdha karma is already set in motion, like an arrow already shot. So, as long as the body is product of the prarabdha karma, because it's designed by the prarabdha karma, so until the body drops, the prarabdha karma will be there. So, he may be a Mahatma, he may have a throat cancer, like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had throat cancer. Or Ramana Maharshi had some amputated with the hand. All those physical problems will be there like anybody else. Because that's a part of prarabdha karma. But his attitude to the prarabdha karma is just as we just said, karmani eva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Just as in the prasada buddhi, because these are actions done in the past, it is coming from the results are coming, and he is the one who gives the results. Therefore, it is accepted as prasada buddhi. Oh, knees are paining? Thank you, Lord, for your prasadam. Things are not working? Thank you, Lord, for your prasadam. So whatever I had to take care of, that doesn't mean that I should keep quiet. Remember, I had to take care of the knees problem to the degree that I can. Instead of sitting down, I had to sit on a chair. That's the problem with the knees. Sitting down and getting up is a big project. At least come to a stage. But that's a problem because I have knees. That's why. So problems belong to the physical level will still remain, but attitude towards that will be completely different. He accepts whatever that comes, whether it is good or bad. Today you have a good hot cup of coffee, very good. Tomorrow no coffee, very good. That attitude will be there. That you will know when you are close to the Mahatma, then you will see. Otherwise you won't see it. Okay? So I was fortunate to be with Gurudev in so many moments, but you can see how he reacts also. So that attitude should be developed, and if not, for a jnani, he is impervious to this, whether it's a pleasure or painful also. So this is how a jnani behaves, and the other slokas essentially in the process Krishna describes in that. And now Krishna gives you two more beautiful slokas in this chapter, where how we develop a vasanas at all. So we'll read 60-63 here. Jhayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate sanga sanjayate kamaha Sanga sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho bhijayate man krodho bhijayate krodhat bhavati sammohaha sammoha spruti vibhramaha spruti bhramsha buddhinashaha buddhinashat pranasyati. Together, jhayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayati. Sanga sanjayate kamaha, kamat krodho bhijayate, krodhat bhavati sammohaha, sammoha spruti vibhramaha, spruti bhramsha buddhinashaha, buddhinashat pranasyati. So how do I get these kamya karmas? Or essentially, is the methodology how a human can degrade and down and down and down in the process when the desire takes over. Jayato vishayan pumsaha sangaste shupajayate sanga sanjayate kamaha. So kama comes because when I keep thinking about it, Jayato vishayan, on the objects. So I was walking on the Springfield Mall, suddenly I saw a beautiful thing on the window. Hey, that's so beautiful. Then, say, I wish I can have that. It is, I just walking and they just put, suddenly I saw it, Vishayan, and then I just saw it, I say, oh no, that's too costly, let's go. So I went out. Next day, again I walked through, and again I looked, now I stopped a little bit more time. And again, keep looking at it. So this started, say, I wish I can have it, if I can put it in my living room or a dead room or this room. I am all imagining where it should go, all that, without buying yet. If I go on, suddenly what happened? Sale! So, yeah, that is on sale. I rush. Because that's the only one available. And the fellow in front of me already bought that one. Unnecessarily sitting there, thinking about it, it became a vasana. That is how the desire came into picture. Suddenly I should have it and sitting in my living room. Because I kept thinking about it. That's how all desires come into picture. So here Krishna tells you how people get attached themselves in this is because by thinking about it. People keep sitting down and thinking about where your mind goes, this where you have investment. People complain, I cannot meditate. Why? I'm sitting in the meditation, my mind is not able to go, it's going all over. Where does it go? It doesn't come to my house. It goes into places where you have invested. Jayato vishayan pumsa, wherever you have attachment, that's where it goes. About your daughter, your son, your this, your that, all your office, all your stuff only. Because you have investment. Now, this is for us. When we sit in the seat of meditation, when we say, I am not able to concentrate my mind is running, you know that's where the problem is. That's where your attachment is. Now what should I do? Krishna tells later, if you can recognize that your mind has run away, you have solved half the problem. A lot of people won't even recognize. They go along with the mind, half an hour over, they travel all over the world and come back, oh my God, it's already time. Half an hour meditation is over. But if you recognize that the mind has gone, you already solved the problem because you already recognize, therefore you can bring it back. Yato nischarati manaschanchalamastiram tatastado niyamyaitatu atmanyevane. So whenever you found the mind has gone somewhere, bring it back to the seat of meditation. That is sadhana. So here, where did it how come? Because I'm thinking about it. How do I stop it? By stop thinking about it. Right? So here, the gradation is how does a man fall down? By thinking about Vishaya, because objects, why should I think of an object? Because I think that object bring happiness to me. Otherwise I don't think. So my dependence, I have not understood, and I think that will be bringing happiness. And more I think about it, the karma becomes intense. When the karma is not fulfilled, krodha, anger comes. When the anger comes, I lose the discrimination. Who is what I am doing. I am ready to hit even my own mother in that anger. I lost discrimination of what is right and what is wrong. Pranasyati, he falls down more and more. How did it all start? jayato vishayan pumsaha. So here Krishna gives you how man degrades himself lower and lower and lower. And depending upon where you are, you can see the people acting in that level. There is also a ladder going up. This is a ladder going down, right? You remember there's a game, ladder and snakes game we used to play. So you go, snake is bringing down and the ladder goes up. There is a ladder going up also to reach that. What's the ladder? Shankara gives. Satsangatve nissangatvam, nissangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nischalatatvam, nischalatatve jivan muktaha. So that is ladder going up, where jayato vishayan, instead of vishayan, I am having an association of the mind with satsang. So satsang will give you nissang. Nissang means detachment. Nissang will give you nirmoham, where more delusion is no more there. Nirmohatve nischalatattvam. The mind becomes quiet, calm and serene and able to see the truth. Nischalatatve jivan muktaha. So this is a ladder going up. So same procedure reverse in the direction to go higher now, where I make a deliberate attempt to provide the mind, not the vishayas of that which dissipates the mind, but that opportunities to grow higher where I can get detached. Satsang can be the Vedantic talks or books or thoughts about the higher values. That keeps the mind quiet. So higher, love towards the higher is called devotion. Okay? And love towards the lower is what you are falling, right? It's lower. So whenever you fall in love, that is you are going down. Falling in love dissipates the energy. That fellow cannot sleep properly even. Rising in devotion makes the mind calm and kind, serene. So that is what is satsang will bring it. And this is the upward in contrast to this what we have studied. So with that, Krishna gives a glimpse of how one can downfall and what needs to be done in order to differentiate, and also provided for Arjuna's question, what is the state of a Jivan Mukta? Now Arjuna has a question in this. We are doing the third chapter. He says, you told me about karma. You told me about jnana. You told me the jnani is the one who has realized and he is the highest. Then why are you asking me to do this fight, karma? This is where I had to kill people. I also want to go to Himalayas, leave this war, and then go to Himalayas and do tapas and then become a jnani. That's what you are glorifying. Oh. Then why are you asking me to fight here unnecessarily? So, Arjuna had definitely understood there are two paths. There is a karma yoga and there is a jnana yoga. So he wants to know why I had to do karma yoga instead of jnana yoga. Jnana yoga is better. So everybody wants to do jnana yoga. So Krishna answers here. Let's do so. Lokesmin dvividha nishtha pura prokta mayanagha jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam. Together. Lokesmin dvividha nishtha pura prokta anagha jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam. So Krishna says, there are two yogas. Asmin loke, in this world, there are two yogas. One is karma yoga and jnana yoga. So that's what I think. Then why not karma? Why not I should do jnana yoga? Karma yogina yoginam. And those Sankhya, the one who are, there are two types of people. And depending upon the mental attitude in that, the yoga has to be taken. Even though there are two paths, appears to be, depending upon the nature of the individual, then you have to follow a particular path. So those who have not able to sit in the seat of meditation and then contemplate in the highest philosophy, inquire into that, because the mind is running away all over. Remember sitting a seat of meditation, half an hour of meditation, running all over the place? So every day it's going to happen like this, then what good is that sitting there? You better go off place where it is going. You also go with the mind. So, if mind is not prepared properly, then mind need to be prepared. And therefore, Arjuna, for you, karma yoga is required to prepare the mind for jnana yoga. So now you should understand, karma yoga is jnana yoga yogyata siddhyartham. For me to be able to take and go to jnana yoga. Now, who is going to decide? I should do karma yoga or jnana yoga? Teacher is going to decide, or I have to decide? So here, this is a problem for every one of us. Okay, that's why I'm reverting a little bit. So what's the difference between a karma yogi, a person who has to do karma yoga, and the person who has to do jnana yoga? So there are 4 attitudes that come up between these two. And you have to evaluate where you fit in this. Now, you have been listening to, I'm sure this is not the first time listening to Gita, right? How many of you realized? How many of you think that you will realize in this life? Nobody? My God. Or you don't want to tell in front of other guys. For a karma yogi, liberation is something to achieve. I have not realized yet. I want to realize. There is something for me to realize. That is an attitude of karma yogi. Why? Because liberation is not something to achieve, but something to understand. It's not something to gain, but it is something mission already accomplished. You are already free. Nitya Mukta Suddha Swarupoham. That's what we keep chanting in all slokas. But doesn't apply to us. I am already free. Why not? Because I have a feeling that I am not free. And the more I am feeling indulged in this one, more because I want this to be happy, I want that to be happy. Therefore, whenever I am looking for happiness from outside, that means I have recognized that happiness is out there and not in me. Follow? That means I have not understood I am the source of happiness itself. I may understand logically here, but as soon as things don't come in the way that I like, people don't behave the way I expect them to behave, because nobody behaves according to your expectations. I expect some people to behave, everybody behave, because you are not behaving according to their expectations. So when people don't behave according to your expectations, you are not happy. That means your happiness depends upon how other people's behave. Depend upon somebody or thing. That means I am longing for happiness. Oh, I'm not looking for God, but you're looking for happiness. Forget about God. Therefore, whenever I have a feeling that the happiness is out there and fulfillment of those desires are essential for my happiness, that means you have to be a karma yogi. Okay, this is a test. Therefore, what is Jnana Yogi? Jnana Yogi understands that happiness is not out there, but happiness is with me. I am the Satchidananda Swarupa. I understood clearly. Then, yet, there is a clause. Because of my past actions, habits this is called habits. Even though I understood, I am not able to keep that understanding in the transactional level. Okay? A lot of people understand it. But they cannot keep that in their transactional level. That knowledge, I am Satchidananda Swarupa. Happiness doesn't depend whether boss gives me a promotion or not. I am happy by myself. If it gives, that's good. If it doesn't give, that's also good. So, if I have that attitude, I am a jnani, but not jnana-nishtha. So, I am differentiating a jnani and a jnana-nishtha. Jnani is one who understands it, but because of the past habits, as Swami Dhiranand says, habits are very difficult to, right? Even if you remove H, a bit still remains. Even if you remove A, bit still remains. Even if you remove B, it still remains. Until you have to surrender the little I in understanding the truth. Then habit is gone. So that which implies I have to internalize that knowledge that I am gaining here as indeed that's me. I had to keep that knowledge. Therefore, smarana has to come. There's a Jnana series I am writing in the Smriti. I don't know if anybody, you get Smriti, I know. But a series of articles are there where a lot of this is discussed. This is supposed to be Bhagavad Gita summary, but I'm trying to give you essence of it because we have to keep that in mind. What is that we need to do? So, first is I need to have the knowledge. For that, only way is tad vijnanartham sagurum eva abhigachet samitpanihi sotriyam brahmanishtam. Scripture says, for that you have to go to a teacher. Don't come to me directly. Scripture itself says, don't come to me directly. Tad vijnanartham gurum eva means you have to approach a teacher alone, because if you come to me, you will be utterly confused. Because that's the nature of the knowledge itself. Because in one Upanishad it may say something, another Upanishad says something. Once you will have, what is this, what is that, and why do I need a teacher? Somebody went to ask, say, why do I need a teacher? I can go and read Upanishads in the library. So Swamiji aspired to go and ask that question also in the library. Why are you asking me? Because even for that you have to ask question to a teacher only. So if I can ask and clear out the doubts, that's only a teacher can do it, not the scripture cannot do it. Therefore, scripture says you go and first learn, and after they call Shravanam, and then Mananam. Shravanam is constant listening to the scriptures for a prolonged length of time until it is completely understood from a competent teacher. That's what Shravanam is. And who is a competent teacher? A competent teacher who was a competent student before. That means he himself went to a teacher and learned prolonged length of time until he understood. And how is that teacher? That teacher was also a student before. He himself went and learned for a length of time under his teacher. That is, there is a Guru Parampara. There is a Sampradayam in the teacher. Say Chinmaya Mission Swami, it doesn't matter which Swami, which teacher, which anybody, if it is teaching, you can guarantee it is the same teaching comes. Because that's a brand. Because there is a methodology of teaching that is the passed on from generations to generations. So a teacher is one who says this is what the scripture tells as an authority, not himself as an authority. Scripture is an authority. That teacher, you have to listen Shravanam, and Mananam is continuously reflecting on it until no more doubts, crystal clear. Understanding has to be there. And even then, for many of us, because the mind, remember, mind is not prepared yet completely. Therefore, still it doesn't stay with us. Even after the class is over, it doesn't stay. So for that, I had to keep on remembering this knowledge again and again and again. And therefore, continuous study of the scriptures, listening to the scriptures, writing about the scriptures, talking about scriptures, it doesn't matter. This mind has to be dwell into it until it firmly abides into that. How long it will take? It may take whole life. It may, depending upon how much pure or impure the mind is. So you have to understand the gradation in the Jnana Yoga. But a Jnana Yogi is one who is not longing for something to go, something to reach, something to gain. It's not like the apraptasya praptam. That means gaining something that I do not have. It is praptasya praptam, gaining something I already have. Then why should I gain? Because I do not able to recognize that. It's only recognition involved, reanalysis called realization that I am that Nitya Mukta Swarupaha. Indeed, remember I told you the first day about the Mr. Jones story, right? Jones and the rat. I had to know I am indeed a man, not a rat. Whether the cat comes there or not, I know I am a man. That understanding has to be abiding knowledge. Ramana Maharshi calls it Durdhaivanishta, firm abidance. And that is Jnana Yogi. As long as I am at the level where my mind starts dissipating and I depend on something other than myself for my happiness, then Karma Yoga is the best way of trying to do. But I am already attending classes. But my mind is still... So what should I do? Should I stop my classes? No. If you have not prepared your mind, the knowledge will be there. You know, this simple example one Swami gives is, if the bulb is burned out and there's no electricity in the line, first replace the bulb. So when you replace the bulb, there's no light, doesn't come. Hey, I put a new bulb. But you have to turn the switch on now. And switch, if it's a dimmer switch, you have to slowly rotate it until it becomes bright. So even though I have understood as putting the bulb, it doesn't light still until I do constant rotation of the mind again and again into that knowledge until it sinks in. Okay? That depends upon the preparation of my mind already, whether I have purity of the mind or how impure the mind is. There's a degree of degradation in the mind purity. They're called Uttamadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, Adhamadhikari. This adhikaritvam is there. For that, what scripture says, nididhyasitavyaha. You have to constantly contemplate on that knowledge. Okay. So this Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga is being taught together. Remember, there's no Bhakti Yoga here. Krishna says only there are two yogas. Lokesmin dvividha nishta. So what about Bhakti Yoga? Bhakti Yoga is needed for both yogas. For Karma Yoga, you need bhakti. For Jnana Yoga, also you need bhakti. For Karma Yoga involves the karma. That we'll take up next now. That's important sloka. Yajñārtham karmanon yatra karmanon lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kaunteya mukta samachara. Together, yajñārtāt karmanon yatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kaunteya mukta samachara. So Krishna says, yajñārtham karma anyatra loko ayam karma bandhanaha. So this, perform the action for yajna, for the sake of yajna. It's a very powerful statement here, if you understand it correctly. So here Krishna is telling in the middle of the war to Arjuna, perform the action, perform the fight for the yajna. So he cannot start yajna with the homam and all that. So yajna means a lot of different meanings here. So yajñārtham karma anyatra loka ayam loka, it's a karma bandhana. It becomes a bondage if you don't do it. So from now on, any action that you perform, act for yajna's sake. So what is yajna? Swami Chinmayananda gives a beautiful definition for yajna. Yajna is that a cooperative action. Yajna is a cooperative action where everyone is involved to their best, doing their part, their best, for the benefit of totality. That's yajna. So yajna is that where everyone involved together for the performance of the yajna in complete self-sacrificing mode for completion and success of the yajna, and that yajna is for the benefit of the totality itself. So yajñārtham, for every action I have to do like that? Yes. Because anyatra karma bandhana, otherwise it will bind you. Bind means it becomes vasanas and all that. Only way to get rid of the vasanas and desires is perform every action in the form of yajna. Now let's understand this a little bit. Yajna has a lot of meanings, so I will give you a little bit whatever. Yajna means, as Swamiji said, now apply that at individual level first. I have body, mind, the body chart is there somewhere, don't worry. Body, mind and intellect. So yajna means cooperative action involving everything into the field of action for the benefit of the totality in self-sacrificing mode. That's what the definition. Application to the individual is, I have body, mind, intellect, putting all of them together in the field of action, in self-sacrificing way for the benefit of the totality who is the individual. Follow now? That means whenever I perform an action, my mind should be there, my body should be there, my intellect should be there. Then only the action will be the best that I can do. Thus, yoga karmashu kaushalam. Krishna says, karma yogi is the kushal, the dexterity in the action comes out because he is putting forth his best into the action. That's what actually Chinmayananda used to teach us in every yajna. Everything has to be, every organization, every part that is has to be the best. You saw in the last people who came for Ramayana, everything is done perfectly in every field that you look at it. Why? That's what expectation by a teacher. And people raise to that expectation. Because that's a part of the training. And When I used to take Gurudev, says 7:30 means 7:30 he starts. He will stand outside, you go inside, I'll come. And 7:30 he walks in. And everybody has to be sitting already there. And anybody comes late, he will stop the lecture and look at him. Then everybody will be looking at him. He'll be so embarrassed that the next time he will come early. Why? He expects, because he has to be there before the class starts. That's part of the discipline of the Chinmaya mission itself. And therefore, yajnartham at an individual level, everyone is participating their part, their best for the benefit of the totality. In the case, the mind, the intellect, and the mind should, the body, mind, and intellect have to be there in the field of action. Then the action can be the best that you can do. It may not be the best that action the particular situation needs, but that's all you can do. You can improve your intellect, you can improve your mind, you can improve your body to do better there. That's a separate. But whatever you have to do your part, completely involved in the action. That's what it means. Mind should not be going somewhere else when you are performing the action. A successful person is, when he is doing it, he will do it completely to the best. That's a success also. At family level, yajnartham karma nonyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. Everyone in the family together as one unit performing for the best of the family will prosper. Wife, husband, children, everybody putting forth for the benefit of the totality, which is the family, then the family will prosper. Wife wants something, husband wants something, child wants something, everybody going in different directions. No yajna there. So now spirit of yajna is coming. Looking at the organization, everyone performing as a sacrifice, themselves sacrificing for the benefit of the totality. Everybody, whatever the assigned task has to be done, their part, their best, then only the organization will succeed. A nation, apply this everywhere. If everybody perform their part, their best for the benefit of the nation will succeed. And this is the recipe for success itself. Individual success, group success, nation success. India is becoming a problem only because everybody wants different. Selfishly, they are trying to gather billions this way, that way, or taking billions. Why? They are ruining the nation. They don't have the benefit of the nation there. So spirit of yajna is gone. So this is the fundamental procedure. This is yajnartham karmanonyatra. Yajna also means Lord. In the Vishnu Sahasranama, you will see the word yajna for Lord Narayana also. So yajnartham karma, I am performing the action for the benefit of the Lord himself, but means I am giving this, my action itself is a prayer to the Lord. See, I am a devotee only when I go to a temple. And when I am outside the temple, if I am not a devotee, then I have not understood devotion. I have a relationship with my wife because I am a husband and my wife is wife because we have a relation. Whenever I encounter my wife, then I am a husband relationship. When I encounter my daughter, I have a father and daughter relationship. But those relations are temporal relationships. When I go to a job, I am an employee. But when I go to temple also, if it is a temporal relationship where I am only a devotee in the temple, that means I have not understood the Lord. He said, I am everywhere, not only in the temple. That's only training for you. It's only practice. When I am everywhere, then I cannot but be a devotee all the time. Isn't it? Because everywhere he is there. It's not like my encountering my wife or my daughter or something, because those are all temporary scenes. So, when I encounter my wife, I'm encountering the wife as well as the Lord there. Isn't it? God is everywhere. So I have to be a devotee, also husband. That becomes devoted husband. Devotee plus husband is devoted husband. devoted wife, devoted employee, devoted student, devoted daughter, devoted father. Every action becomes a devoted action if I understand yajnartham karma, because Lord is everywhere. Therefore, that karma will not bind you. So you follow now, yajnartham means, so what a powerful statement Krishna is giving. And that becomes a karma yoga because my attitude in the action itself is different. Not only I am performing an action, but attitude also changes because I am a devoted action. Means anything devoted has to be best. Yeah, I won't give this laddus because I don't like it. Let me give it to God. No. I want to give the best to the Lord. If I'm offering something, it has to be best. So if I'm performing the action and giving it to the Lord, it has to be my best that I can do. I may not know how to make it properly, but this is all I can do. If He wants, He will make me learn better how to make it next time. That's His problem. So yajnartham involves, therefore, understanding the laws and also how to apply this in my every action from now on. So after the class is over, we have to make sure that we perform the action as yajnartham. Every action. Yat karoshi yat dashnasi yat juhoshi dadasi yat tapasyati kaunteya tat kurushma adarpanam. It comes in the later. Whatever you do, give it to me. I'm ready to accept. Therefore, there is no heinous action, this action, everything action. But when you bring it to Him, it has to be dharmic action. I do not go and hurt somebody and say, oh Lord, I'm giving it to you. No. Because Lord is there, He is dharma. Therefore, all dharmic actions has to be done and it has to be offered. Then my mind becomes non-reactive. It will be active but not reactive. That is the essence of Karma Yoga. With that, we will stop. It's already time. So we'll do Purnamada. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyati. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let's do Chima Mission Pledge. We stand as one family, bound to each other with love and respect. We serve as an army, courageous and disciplined, ever ready to fight against all low tendencies and false values within and without us. We live honestly, the noble life of sacrifice and service, producing more than what we consume and giving more than what we take. We seek the Lord's grace to keep us on the path of virtue, courage, and wisdom. May Thy grace and blessings flow through us to the world around us. We believe that the service of our country is the service of the Lord of Lords, and devotion to the people is the devotion to the Supreme Self. We know our responsibilities. Give us the ability and courage to fulfill them. Om Tat Sat.